Welcome back, this is Goku-san DBZ, and welcome back for a new sales history list where I look at a specific game franchise on occasion, and I mention the sales numbers, also like time frame, when that game came out, and if I can find overall Metacritic scores. I also mention the critic score and user score if I can find them, but mainly critical score. So with that said, in the music, you hear music I specifically chose for this video. That is the theme of Oakvale. Because this time around, we're looking at one of my top 10 favorite game franchises of all time. This is the sales history of the Fable series. And convenient, since, of course, we got recently an announcement at the Xbox Series X showcase at a reboot to the Fable series that's going to take place. Since unfortunately Lionhead Studios is dead, rest in peace, Lionhead Studios. But yes, this is a series that's always held a special place for me. I've always loved the Fable franchise. It's what got me to get an original Xbox, was the original Fable. So with that said, first up we'll be looking at regular Fable, then Fable Lost Chapters, since it was a re-released improved version. There's Fable 2, there's Fable Anniversary, Fable 3, and even though I don't like it, Fable The Journey. So with that said, first up, the original Fable, released on strictly the original Xbox, the original version of Fable, never came to PC. PC got an upgraded version that was the Last Chapters, or Lost Chapters, whatever. First up, Fable 1, original Xbox, which was a very good console exclusive. It was released in 2004 for the original Xbox, of course, by Lionhead Studios and creator of the franchise, which unfortunately got himself into trouble for promising a lot of stuff that he could never fulfill, because a lot of elements that he talked about in Fable wouldn't really be possible until Fable, or rather, until the Xbox 360, graphically speaking. But, yes, Fable 1 was actually a very good seller as an exclusive to the Xbox. It sold around an estimated 3 million copies on the original Xbox, which it did better in sales than I thought it did. And keep in mind, this is strictly the base game, so the base game did over 3 million. That's really good for a start of a new series. And on top of it, a original Xbox exclusive. Though Xbox did have some very big successful games, such as Halo. It got a critic score of an 8.6 out of 10 by normal Metacritic. It got an 8.1 among users at that time. So it actually scored a little higher among critics than it did with users, surprisingly. Still, that's pretty solid overall. Both scores being over an 8 out of 10. I feel it deserves a 9 out of 10, but I'm a little biased. Next, we have Fable Lost Chapters. It would be an updated version released originally for the PC, and then would get a port to the, of course, original Xbox, known as Fable Lost Chapters, which we would see a lot of new added quests, like 5 big newer quests you could do in the game they added. Plus, there was like a new region they added, and a new ultimate final boss fight, where you could face the ultimate version of Jack of Blades, transformed into a giant dragon. Interesting, I will say. Plus, you also gain 2 new magic abilities you could do also in the Lost Chapters. And a few upgrades here and there, little tweaks to some of the gameplay elements. And the frame rate wasn't as bad on the Lost Chapters as it was in the base vanilla. It would end up getting a score of a 8.3 out of 10. On PCs, I could not find console sales for the Lost Chapters. I guess they put it together with the original base Fable for overall to 3 million. But on PC, The Lost Chapters only sold around estimated 70,000 copies. Not too great. It's unfortunate it only sold about 70,000 on PC, while over 3 million on console. And then, and of course that was 2005, just 1 year later. Next, we have Fable 2, which in many people's opinions is the best Fable game of the series. It definitely by far has the highest critic score out of the whole series. Now, personally for me, Fable 1 will always be my personal favorite game in the franchise, and I have a big soft spot for Fable 3. Actually, Fable 2 for me is in third place. But to each their own. As I said, most people consider Fable 2 the best, especially with where you can do co-op through the story and stuff. That was definitely something a lot of people really liked, was the co-op mode. And that's something that not IGN, but Tech TV with of course, Morgan Webb and Adam Sessler would talk about on X-Play, which I miss X-Play. But they talked about stuff. Now, if I remember correctly, Fable 2 got like a 4 out of 5 on X-Play score. But overall critic score, Fable 2 would end up getting a 9 out of 10. So definitely a pretty good score overall. Definitely on the positive. Of course, it would be released on the Xbox 360 and the PC. And strangely enough, now, of course, the Xbox 360 version, I forget the original because I forgot to write here for some reason the release date. Now, it would get a PC port, but in like 2014 it got a PC port. Several years later, I'm not sure why that many years later, but sales numbers... Oh wait, no, I was looking at the wrong thing. 2008, my bad. Yeah, and then 2010 for the improved Platinum Hits version, which had all the DLC content added on disc. It would end up doing 3.5 million copies sold. Very good overall. Next is Fable Anniversary, which I got confused with, released in 2014. Of course, it would be an upscale version of Fable The Lost Chapters, and I actually think by far it is the best version of the original Fable, at least in the beginning, early days, the frame rate in Fable Anniversary was not good, but as time progressed and they added patch updates and stuff to the game, Fable Anniversary is by far now the definitive way to play the original Fable, since it's Lost Chapters with HD upscale graphics and improved frame rate. So I definitely feel if you do want to play the original Fable, get Anniversary for the 360 or PC. Or you can play it on Game Pass if you have Game Pass. So I highly recommend it if you get a chance to play it. That's by far the best way to play, in my opinion. It did not do huge sales since it was just an upscale. Total, it scored an 8 out of 10 on Xbox 360 for the Anniversary Edition. It sold 450,000 copies on the 360, and it sold 582,000 copies on PC. So that's interesting. It actually sold over like 130,000 more copies on PC, even though earlier games did not sell as good on PC as it did on console. But Fable Anniversary did pretty good on PC overall. I mean, for just being an upscale, that's not bad. Between both together, it sold over 1 million copies. That's pretty good, and I'm glad for it. Next, we have Fable 3, in my opinion, overly hated, underrated of the franchise. Fable 3 was released in 2011, and it was released on the Xbox 360 and PC. Now, on the Xbox 360, its critic score is a 7.8, which is not as bad. I'm kind of surprised it isn't lower the way people treat it. PC score was 7 out of 10. So I actually scored almost a point higher on the Xbox 360. Not surprised, I feel that's the better platform to play Fable on rather than PC. Fable 3 would end up selling 330,000 copies on PC. Not the hugest numbers, but on Xbox 360, Fable 3 would end up selling 5.1 million copies. 5,100,000 copies on 360. So if you combine both together, it did just shy of 5.5 million. And yet people bash on Fable 3, yet by far, Fable 3 is the best selling game in the whole franchise, easily. Though, if you add Lost Chapters in with regular Fable plus the anniversary, original Fables ended up selling probably about 1 million more than Fable 2. But yeah, Fable 3, I think, is a really good game, really fun, and I love the fact you have unlimited magic usage. And I finally recently did a playthrough of the game, which made my 9th playthrough of Fable 3. And I finally succeeded getting a trophy. I made it through the game without dying once. That was awesome. That's something I've been trying to do for a while, is to get that trophy. But with that said, last but not least, we have for the Kinect 360, released in 2012, Fable: The Journey. I refuse to recognize that other game because it's nothing like Fable, and the mobile game doesn't count because it's a mobile game. It's not on console, so there's no actual solid figures or sales numbers. So with that said, Fable: The Journey, which was a Kinect game, it ended up unknown on the user score, or correct score. Strangely enough, I couldn't find a score on any platform for it, which is weird. It sold 290,000 copies. So, it did better than I thought it would, because not a lot of people really went out to get the Kinect. And in my opinion, of the 3 motion control things you had at the time, between Kinect, the Wii, and the PlayStation Move, in my opinion, PlayStation Move is underrated, because I think the quality is far superior, definitely, to that of the Kinect. In my opinion, the Kinect is by far the weakest of the motion controls you had of last gen. So, anyways, that was the sales history of the Fable series. Leave a comment below, tell me if there's any specific game franchise you would like me to do a sales history of in the future. Now, in a month or so from now, I will do another sales history, and I'm going to announce today, this will probably end up being a little longer. One of my most beloved game franchises of all time will be the next one I'm doing. And that is the sales history of the Silent Hill series will be the next sales history video that I do on a game series. But as I say, leave a comment, tell me a series you would like me to do. Whether it be a fighting game series or a survival horror game series, an FPS series, just as long as it's not too overly long. But with that said, I'll see y'all next time, and stay safe out there, everyone. See you again, same YouTube time, same YouTube channel.